Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the beginning of the last days. It sure is exciting. I wouldn't want to be born in any other time. I had a blast going to Ottawa this last weekend. Some of you saw a couple of my live streams on Facebook from Ottawa. It was really wonderful. They had a marching band that they haven't had for quite a while, I guess, since all of the big COVID that took over our world. People weren't singing or blowing horns, God forbid. And so now we're back to having some sort of celebratory things going on at the Parliament. It was beautiful. I had a window at my hotel that literally looked at Parliament, and they had fireworks going off, and absolutely loved it. I felt that there was some festivity in the air. However, I went down with a group of people who are contending for Canada, and I have to say that there's what is the word? There's a heaviness when going there that honestly, I've never felt it that bad as I felt it. And I was walking around, it's very difficult knowing that we've been seized on every level. Let's not pretend it hasn't happened. We have a government, so all of our politicians, our education system, our media, 100%. Right? That's why you're here watching me, because you can't trust your mainstream media. Legacy media, bought. They are bribed. Done. You will not get the truth there. And so as we look at all of the mountains, as Lance Wallnow might refer to them as, they've been seized in Canada. They've been, they have sold their souls. And everywhere we turn, it's all about LGBTQ. It's all about the government agenda, what they want you to do. It's about big pharma, and it's about money. And money, it's stolen the soul of our land. Now, hopefully when I'm on tomorrow, the next day, I'm going to have the poster ready for a big event we're doing October 28th at the Canada Events Center in Whitby, Ontario. Lance Wallnow is coming. It's very exciting. We have many doctors that are going to be there. We're also working on a couple of other surprise guests, which I think is going to be epic. So I'm looking forward to it. We need to pray for our land. And that's what I was there in Ottawa doing with a group of, can you believe it, Filipinos. These are Filipino people who have come to Canada. And you know what? They're like little missionaries now. They are contending, praying. They've got prayer times going at all hours. They are fighting for this nation. And it was really inspiring to me to never give up on Canada. We know that God can move, but when we have seen the church compromise in the way that it has, and it has been a huge disappointment, not to the churches or the leaders that are watching right now, you pastors that are watching right now that say, hey, Laura-Lynn, what are you talking about? We never compromised. No, you didn't. But let's face it, 99% of the churches in our nation compromised so incredibly in the last 3 years that we have literally been rendered useless. You know what I'm excited about? And I mean, I do not know what to do with this, but so the Muslims are rising. The Muslims are rising to do a 1 million march across this nation to every parliament building, to every government building to stand against transgenderism and the LGBTQ agenda. Who's called for it? At different times, us Christians. Oh, there is an item about it? Should we run it right now? You want to see which one it is? We were heavily involved doing protests. Carrie Simpson and we held meetings at our, downtown Vancouver, and we had hundreds and hundreds come out, and it was fantastic. But can I say, for a large part, when our Prime Minister raises the LGBTQ flag above our Parliament, and Pierre Poilievre, the leader of the Conservative Party of Canada, is Happy Pride Month. It's actually Pride Year. It's Pride Decade. What are you to say? Where's our side? Who's our side? Where's the people that say this country was founded on Judeo-Christian values, and we will not have our children told that they are multi-gendered? Absolutely not. They were created by God in the body that God intended, and we will not bow to this agenda that has come to us. So if you want to run that video, if it's handy, JT, let's just show you this before we get to our incredible guest today. Have a look.
The most vocal critics of Trudeau's policies in Canada are coming largely from the Muslim population, telling Trudeau to keep your ideology away from our children. Protests have been erupting across Canada, and now Muslim activists are joining together with Christians in order to stage a 1 million-person march across Canada in September, calling on people of all faiths to come out and denounce this gender ideology in schools. David Creighton has been writing about this at the Post Millennial and joins us now. And David, you just had a really fascinating interview with the organizer of this 1 million-person march. This is Kamel El-Sheikh, who's organizing this, trying to bring together all faiths to march on the Trudeau government and say enough is enough. What did you find?
Well, I was fascinated because I looked up Kamel El-Sheikh after I discovered he was the motivator, the chief motivator behind all of these protests that we've been experiencing here in Ottawa. And they've been massive protests. And he has been coordinating with other Muslims across Canada, primarily in Calgary and in the Maritimes. So when he told me about this 1 million-person march, I first thought, well, you know, that's optimistic because a lot of people talk about these 1 million-man or 1 million-person marches. But when he told me the network he has created, that this isn't just going to be Ottawa, it's going to be from coast to coast, I think this is a realizable objective. And, you know, the question I first asked when Muslims started taking to the streets and literally had children were stomping on the gay pride flag, I said, this is a real conundrum for the Trudeau government and for Justin Trudeau, because he always talks about Islamophobia. And he talks about transphobia. So which phobia is going to trump the other? Clearly, homophobia is trumping Islamophobia, and transphobia is trumping Islamophobia. But that's what happens when you have a country that is no longer subject just to the rule of law, but to identity politics.
You know, isn't this like, what do you call this? Like a checkmate? I don't know. Okay, so our prime minister, right? He's totally against Islamophobia, totally against transphobia. Now the Islamists and the trans are in a big fight. Who's he gonna pick? I mean, he doesn't want to lose voters from any of them, but he's gonna lose everybody because everyone's just. It's pathetic. It's pathetic what they've done to our nation. And what's even more pathetic is that the Conservative Party of Canada will not make a stand. So do you know what we're left? Defenseless as sheep wandering in the desert without a shepherd. So what we need is strong Christian leaders to rise up. I'm really excited about this, Kamal. I'm going to be supporting this movement for the 1 million. We're going to be there as the Christians, and I am imploring you, let's get behind this. Let's get our signs ready. Let's be there in full force with our stand for our children and the protection of our children from this nonsense. And God help the Conservative Party of Canada if they are not going to get on board. I do know that Maxime Bernier will get on board with all of this. So we'll see what happens with all of that. I neglected to do my favorite thing every show is to read from my father's Bible, one verse. I opened it up today. And my dad, during his lifetime, he had this one Bible. And he had this Bible in Africa when we were there. And we were missionaries in Uganda, East Africa, in Masaka. And I was born in Kampala, the capital city. But my dad, okay, so this, you can see, all right, it's just a beautiful hot mess on this page. It is just so awesome. Things, starred and underlined, amazing. So my eyes fell to this verse in Revelations 3:18. I counsel thee to buy of me gold tried in the fire, that thou mayest be rich. Is he talking about earthly riches? I don't think so. And white raiment, that thou mayest be clothed, and that the shame of thy nakedness does not appear, and anoint thine eyes with eye salve, that thou mayest see. boy, do we need the wealth of that gold, that when our characters are tried in the furnace, this is what this era is about. This era of champions, where champions are arising. That's what we're going to call our event in October. The era of champions, where champions are arising to fight. We are in the fire. We are in the furnace. And you know what? We're okay. Because if we perish, we perish. But if our God does not save us, no matter what, we will not bow. We won't bow to your agendas. We won't bow to your unrighteous ideologies that you are pushing in our nation. We will not. We will be clothed in the righteousness of God, and that God would give us eyes to see. And so it was a blessing to me today to find my dad had underlined that. It means the world. You know, we want to leave a legacy for our children. So be sure that you're underlining your Bible every single day to let your kids know what is happening. I want to move quickly to our guest today. We're not going to do a long show. We are going to do a fast show now with these amazing guests. So my first guest, Mary O'Neill, she is an ambassador for Let Our Children Go. She's also CEO of America's Future, which is an educational nonprofit organization helping the children of the world. And she has another claim to fame, and that is she is the amazing, she's the sister of the amazing General Flynn. And General Michael Flynn, you have heard of him standing. And so this is top, epic seed here with Mary being here to talk with us. We also have our guests, Mark and Terri Stemann. And Mark is a retired 20-year United States Air Force veteran from Cincinnati, Ohio, with his wife from Louisville, Kentucky. And she was a stay-at-home mom for 17 years, homeschooling their children. Mark and Terri have been married for 25 years. They have a harrowing story to tell us regarding their 7 beautiful children unlawfully taken from them by the state of Kentucky. Now, this is happening more and more, and I'm getting more and more stories about the states stepping in. There is one going on right now in Manitoba. Actually, there's a couple of stories in Manitoba about children being taken from their parents. And so we want to invite everyone to the screen right now. Hello, Mary. Hello, Mark and Terri. Thank you so much for joining us and waiting in the background there. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Well, it's an honor and a privilege. Mary, let's start with yourself. Tell us about the organizations that you work with and maybe how you came to be involved with Mark and Terri Stemann.
Sure. I am a woman who has been in the nonprofit NGO area for over, close to 40 years. I worked before I came to work for my brother and be the CEO of America's Future, which is 77 years old. It's one of the first nonprofits that we can't even find if there was another one yet. We haven't found that yet. But I was working in the Catholic Church. I was a finance administrator, and I was basically a whistleblower. I was brought in to audit and find money that was being stolen in the New England area of our country, America. And so I found a lot of corruption in the Catholic Church. I am deeply involved with Archbishop Vigano, who counseled me and my family with my brother's persecution. I worked for United Way. I worked for many organizations in the nonprofit world. So as a finance and compliance administrator type of woman who audits. But I have a lot of backgrounds. I have an environmental science MBA kind of thing. So my brother asked me to come work for him and run this organization that was turned over to him by a General Singlub, who was 101, died last year. He was an intel officer. My brother was he was a mentor to my brother. And they asked him to take this organization over, and he accepted, but he needed somebody to run it. So I was very happy to step out of the Catholic Church and come start this organization and actually give it a shot in the arm. It needed it. It was dormant for about 20 years. Phyllis Schlafly, a very conservative, very well-known woman, Eagle Foundation, was a woman who was very pro-life, very conservative, very wonderful woman who had taken it over. So anyway, so we kicked it off May 21st of 2021, and it was and we've been going strong, fighting First and Second and even Fourth Amendment rights, in filing amicus briefs to the unconstitutional decisions that have been being made, and they're trying to, knock off our First Amendment and our Second Amendments and so forth. And so we are fighting in the U.S. Supreme Court, and we're doing pretty well. So that's someplace I believe that we needed to be in the court system, which is very corrupt. As far as my brother was concerned, that's a persecution that everybody saw through the world, what they had done to a national security advisor, and a guy who was a 33-year veteran hero. And,
how's he doing now, Mary? What are they doing to him now?
Well, he's still, he's still very on the spotlight. He's out and about in the public eye trying to fight for this country. Yes, he is still drawn in. They're always trying to draw him in, and they're still, after him with subpoenas and so forth. And he's still, people don't realize that they, are very afraid of him and Trump getting back together. Whether that is ever going to happen, I don't know. That is entirely up to what they do in their lives, and to fight for this country. But I do know that if the calling is calling, he will do what he needs to do for our country. Yeah. And so he's doing really well, actually. He's a wonderful man. He's a tough guy, he's a tough guy.
The toughest. Whenever I've seen him, and I was blessed to meet him at Canada Reawaken, that's ours, at the Reawaken America. He just, you wouldn't know what he's been through by his demeanor. He's kind, he's authentic, and very courageous and very warm. And I appreciated meeting with him.
No, there's 9 children in our family. I'm 7th. Oh. So we came from nothing, really. And my mother and father were really, really good people. They hardworking Democrats, conservative Democrats. My mother was pro-life. She ran against many politicians on that platform and so forth. So my family, our Irish Catholic family, background, and we grew up in a little place called Newport, Rhode Island, which is an island right on the bottom of New England. So we grew up in the ocean, and we had a lot of fun growing up. So,
wow. Tell me, Mary, about your intersection then in your life with Mark and Terri Stemann, and then lead us into their very harrowing story regarding their children.
Yeah, so I am, Terri and I, during my brother's persecution, after they went after him and Trump won the election in 2016, one of the things, and I'm not a social media person, I'm not really, I'm more of a prayer warrior than anybody in my family. I always had a very strong faith as a little girl, and my mother was a really amazing, faithful real faithful servant to the Lord. And she was just a wonderful person that taught me a lot about my faith and my love of God and Jesus. And so when my brother was being persecuted, I noticed that all these, prayers were going on, and my brothers and sisters were we were all over the place. It was very worrisome, very hard time for all of us to be in and watch them trying to destroy my brother and his family, our family. And so really the prayer, I got on Twitter because my brothers and sisters we had a defense fund for them. And really Terri, I noticed Terri following us. And really the amazing part of Terri was that we started to connect as far as stories with children. And I had a terrible experience with my middle daughter with twin babies, and how they were taken in the middle of the night by a CPS setup, and cops, the law enforcement had set my daughter up and took those babies in the middle of the night. So I had experienced the corruption of the CPS and the foster care system. And I was going through some real amazing times, but they were hard times. But so we just connected through people on Twitter, actually, and started to get into the DM rooms and talk about this. And I thought that I had to be careful who I was talking to. You know how that is with social media, but she was just a connection that God actually really, it just felt right with her. And she was just so wonderful as a Twitter friend. Then of course, I got her story, and Mark's story. I just thought that maybe if there was anything that I could do as General Flynn's sister, as our family was fighting, that we could help each other and help them and get some. I don't know. It was a story that to me really kind of broke my heart, but hit my heart, and I did bring it to my brother and some of my other family members and just other people, and so that's really where we became friends, was sharing a story about our experiences with this terrible way the system hurts families and is so corrupt. It's
Yeah,
just
we're hearing about this more and more, and it's not just in America, it's in Canada. And so
No.
Mark and Terri, would you lead us then in telling us about your journey? 7 children, married for 25 years. What happened?
Hi, Laura-Lynn. Thanks so much for having us, and really appreciate Mary being on here with us. Just to give you a little overview before we get into the specifics of what happened with us, leading off of there with what Mary presented. The Flynn family has been so kind and gracious and supportive to us throughout this journey. And we just really appreciate what Mary has done in helping us to raise awareness, because as we have been thrust into this and going on 7 years of dealing with this system, we ended up starting an organization to help other families and to bring awareness to the problem. And that really is what we have found has to be done at this point, because what this system does is it hides in the shadows. They keep it very secretive. And so a lot of people, unless it's actually happened to them, can't really grasp that our governments are perpetuating this kind of a thing. And to me, it's basically an organized crime syndicate. This family court, foster care, CPS thing that is going on. And so that is how Mary and I connected. I am all about raising awareness and trying to connect with people to get the word out. And when I reached out to Mary to address this issue, I think her response was along the lines of, "Oh, you don't have to tell me. I know what's going on there," or something like that. And so I'm just so thankful for her. She didn't block me. She didn't, not talk to me anymore. She's been with us along this journey, and we're just really excited to see what she's doing with America's future and addressing the larger child trafficking issue, which the foster care system is a micro element of that, because a lot of children that end up being trafficked are coming from the foster care system. And so what we want to do is to raise awareness, and we want to protect the children. And in order to protect the children, we have to protect their parents so that they can protect their children. And I sent an article through. I don't know if JT or Toby were able to grab that link, but there was an Associated Press article that came out here not too long ago over a law that was passed in Washington State. And the headline was something along the lines of trans minors protected from parents. And so that just goes right in line with what you were talking about earlier with the transgender issue and what's going on with families and children. And there's a lot of awareness being raised about medical kidnapping of children. When a family will go in, they might take their child to the emergency room. and or just a doctor's appointment, and there's some kind of a disagreement between the family and the doctor, to where maybe the family wants a second opinion or doesn't agree, and then the state will come in and take custody of the children. And so that's sort of what happened in our situation. That knocked this whole thing off for us was an issue with, we have 7 children, and our oldest daughter at the time was 17 years old. Our youngest was 3 years old, and we had homeschooled our children all their lives. So the issue that began with us was connected to a doctor that we took our 17-year-old daughter to, that we had never been to before. And it just escalated from there. And so I can let Mark get into a little bit of the details of what actually happened with our family and what led up to us starting the organization.
Yeah, thanks, Laura-Lynn. It's great to be with you and our fellow great patriot and dear friend, Mary Flynn O'Neill. And Mary touched along some very key points, important points in respect to what was happening in her family over the last several years, especially in respect to General Flynn. And I just want to say that, as a veteran, we veterans hang together. And when Terri and I began to see what was unfolding with persecution of General Flynn and the assault on their family over all of that, we really wanted to be involved in being a voice to their defense, and to add another little piece of how we connected. And so it really testifies very well as to how great of a family and people the Flynn family are, because not just in respect to what they did, in respect to stepping up to help us, but they care deeply about the United States of America, our freedom, our friends around the world. And especially in respect to the American family and our children. And so the responsiveness of Mary and the way that Terri and Mary connected was just really great. And then just really to eventually get a follow from General Flynn on Terri's Twitter account was just a great boost in respect to a very dark time that was unfolding in our life. And so, we had a very loving, beautiful home. All 7 of our children from our 25-year marriage honorably retired from the United States Air Force after 20 years. Terri was with me for 11 of those years, and several of our children, with the exception of, I think, 2 of them, came forth while I was in service. So we had a lot of oversight, in the military community, in respect to, taking care of our family when we were off, taking care of business. And so, we were very attuned to all the needs of our children. And then after retirement, we eventually relocated back across the country. We wanted to be closer to our families. And we took our 17-year-old daughter in for a simple eye test one day after Terri became aware of maybe some eyesight issues when they were out traveling. So we took it upon ourselves, as we did with all the children. Whenever they needed something, we took her in to get her checked out. And, there's a lot to our story, Laura-Lynn. So we're only going to touch upon the high points, and then we'll talk where people can find more about the details. But because we began to get calls from this first practitioner expressing additional concerns regarding Amy's height. She was tall and thin like us. Most teenagers, when they go through adolescence, they go through growth spurts. And Amy was normal in that way. And so they began to call us and insist that we come back for additional evaluation, or that they had concerns that she may be anorexic. And being that we had sit-down dinners just about every time that we could, and observing all of the habits of our children, particularly in respect to their eating, that was a keynote point of our day. We knew that Amy did not have anything in respect to that condition. And so, because we would not go back to that first practitioner, they were, I guess, doing some things behind the scene, working with some other people that we later discovered in respect to what was really going on. But during that interim period, we took it upon ourselves to set up a second opinion, just for an additional look at our daughter, because we cared about her well-being. And we went there, that second practitioner, about a month after that initial visit. It was in February and March of 2016. We got a good bill of health. They did a well check on her, and we got a document saying that she's in good health and there are no restrictions. Now, around that time, CPS began inquiring into our life, and they wanted us to call them. And we would not do that initially. And then eventually I did go to see the supervisor, who said that they had received a medical diagnosis on our daughter saying that she was in imminent danger, severely anorexic, and that without immediate treatment, she would die soon. And so they wanted to submit to me to submit to an interview, and I wouldn't do it. And then as things unfolded from there, it kind of escalated. We had a large police scene, and then eventually we ended up in the court system there in Jefferson County, going there thinking that if we just show the good health document that this is going to be dismissed and there won't be any problems. Well, that didn't happen. It actually got far worse. And to keep this on the shorter side in respect to the storyline, what we eventually discovered was a conspiracy to kidnap all 7 of our children. And we uncovered a child trafficking ring there in Jefferson County, Louisville, Kentucky, that involved very people who eventually got a hold of our children, namely the girlfriend of Terri's father, her father, and her half aunt. And she apparently is involved with utilizing the Louisville Metro Police Department to facilitate this scheme, probably going on for 15, 20 years, due by the evidence that we were able to acquire, namely source documentation from a 2013 letter, a 2005 party invitation. We began seeing images, very similar images with distinctive writing style, even with the appearance that there was like imaging, computer-based imaging, that were on CPS, family court, even police documents. And so this woman, the girlfriend of Terri's father, had a twin brother on the Louisville Metro Police Department. And he, from what we were able to acquire with video evidence, apparently was there on the big police scene on March 30th. And but we want to try to get them deposed so we can nail this down. But we haven't been able to get an attorney to secure the justice or to secure the remedy. And when we uncovered all the crimes, the fraud, the conspiracy to defraud, and the kidnapping of our children, we reported this to all of the law enforcement agencies at the state and federal level, even trying to reach the White House. We involved our representatives, and yet we've been denied justice and remedy. And our story is just a microcosm in respect to the larger problem of what's happening across the United States, all 50 states, and even among many of our friends in our allied countries, Australia, England, and where there is Canada too, and where there is medical kidnapping, color of law kidnapping occurring, and this is where child traffickers are getting a hold of children. And here in the United States, it's especially egregious because it's incentivized with large amounts of our Title IV Social Security money under the Clinton's Adoption and Safe Families Act. And so every year, in order for the state governments to receive an annual bonus for the adoption aspect and all of the services they can force upon families as they lead them with a golden carrot, thinking they can get their children back, they have to take more kids every year. And so this is really overall a fraudulent operation because in just about every state in our country, child abuse and neglect is a crime. It's a problematic crime because it's not very well defined. Mary has talked about this in respect to like what is neglect. It's not really defined. It's really subjective and arbitrary at the whim and power of the government. And so most families are not charged with a crime. These things are framed as a civil proceeding. And where the issue is here in the United States, there has to be a contract in place between two parties for there to be a legitimate civil proceeding. And under our Constitution and our laws, we are not born into a automatic country for the automatic oversight by our government for child welfare. And yet this is how they're proceeding. The effects of this is very destructive on the parents. It completely breaks down the family bond, and the children are just traumatized. And then they become adults, and then it carries over into their adulthood, where many of them even end up in human trafficking networks. And so for us, because we would not comply with the services that they wanted to force upon us, like a psychological evaluation, drug testing, anger management, family counseling, all these things, because we refused on our constitutional 13th Amendment protection, they punished us without being convicted of a crime by basically kidnapping our children and giving them to other people. And this is what's happening to hundreds of thousands of our fellow Americans and our friends and our allied countries in various ways. And so it's very destructive. This is just one element of what we see happening in respect to the assault on our freedom and the security integrity of our family unit. And so we're out here in the public arena to raise awareness and to join together with people to fight what I call a seditious operation on many different elements. And we appreciate you highlighting this on your great show, because we want to utilize the visibility that we're bringing forth and the information, the facts on the evidence, and breaking down the lying narrative to build local action networks, whether it be here in the United States, in Canada, or any of the other countries that we mentioned, or any others that we haven't mentioned, in respect to people who may be experiencing this problem. Because there was a Soviet communist leader years ago that had a quote that he put forth, and it was Lenin, I believe, and he said, destroy the family and you'll destroy the country. And this is exactly what's been happening, and it's getting worse every year. And so we're out here to put a stop to it, and we're out here to make people not just aware, but to join people together to apply the pressures that are needed upon our representatives and our systems of government to stop these atrocities, so that we can have justice and remedy and stop these things from happening. And so that's a little bit about what happened to us and the big picture, and joining together with other great patriots to fight and other elements of which we see going on in our world today.
People watching, it strikes me right now, like I am so horrified. I've heard other stories like this, and we have featured other families going through this. And you think, how can a government authority come in and with some kind of their own narrative, making up stuff and assuming things, just come in and take your children? And like, when I look at you, I cannot imagine a worse thing to happen in any parent's life than their children removed from their home. Tell me a little bit about like how this has been for you. Maybe Terri, as a mom, like this, you're very strong right now, and you have made the mess into your message and into your mission. But this is horrible.
Yeah, it is. It's very destructive on families, and it's been very destructive in our lives in many different ways. And it's really hard to deal with. But when you're placed in a situation such as this, you have to figure out a way to cope and keep going and to deal with it. And that was that's pretty much how Let Our Children Go started, was just reaching out and connecting with other families that it was happening to, and seeing that you are not alone, and that the same thing is happening to other people. And it's pretty much a way of a therapy, just to be able to connect with those other parents, and to come alongside them and help them and offer support, and to let them know that they're not alone. And so you're right. It's grown into a mission for us. And as far as dealing with the pain of what's happened with our children, you really learn to cope. You compartmentalize it so that you can go about your day and keep going and having faith that our Creator is going to work it out for good in the end. We don't know what that's going to look like, but we have faith that that's what's going to happen, and that we're going to be able to help a lot of other families and children along the way. So I think there was something else I wanted to say about that. But
Yeah, well, I was just going to say that in addition to that, when this happened to us, when this conspiracy unfolded to kidnap our kids, we didn't really know what was happening across the country or even in the other countries among our friends. And we had heard about a story here and there. And, normally most people, same with us, we're like, there has to be more to the story. They must have done something wrong. What's really going on there? And when we started reaching out to other people, and we started hearing the facts and really the truth outside of the lying narrative that's projected, we made it our aim to help others in the midst of our own pain and our own trouble. And that's where we found our comfort, was in reaching out to help others. And I think there's a verse in the scripture, I think it's in Ephesians 6:8, that whatever good anyone has done, that you will receive back. And so that's kind of what's carried us forward, in addition to our love for the Almighty Father and His way, and for our fellow Americans, and our genuine care about other families, and just knowing that pain, that we could reach out and help others. It brings us comfort. And then just being able to connect with great people like Mary Flynn O'Neill, and now we have a great ambassador in Laura Logan for our Let Our Children Grow mission and organization. It really gives us a boost until we can bring about the corrective action. And so we've seen this come back to us, Laura-Lynn, where good things have actually come back as a result of investing and doing good. And so it just inspires us to continue on. And we really do have a true mission, because we know the truth as to what's going on within our systems. And we know the truth in respect to what's happening to other families. And so that's why we are continuing on. And we now have a show that people can find out more. You can find it on rumble.com and just search for Let Our Children Go, and it'll bring up our show. You'll see it right there on the Insight channel. And so we're highlighting other families, and letting them tell their stories, and about the lawlessness that's unfolding, that's really enabling this, and then joining people together. Because right now, when you travel through your system of government, trying to find justice and remedy, and you're denied all along the way, even to the point of being deprived of our God-given rights that the United States was founded to secure, we have a we the people problem, and we the people are going to have to be the solution. And so that's what we're working toward. And so we have a lot of, you hear the horror of the story and other people's stories, but there's also a lot of great things that are happening. And that's how we can even be here today talking to you. And so at some point, we like to share the great, amazing, miraculous story that have even enabled us to be here. And one such person who stepped up, you're looking at right there in General Flynn's sister, Mary Flynn O'Neill. And Mary, we just thank you again so much. And we're going to get this done. We are going to stop this, and we are going to make a better world for ourselves and our children.
Well,
And Laura,
yes.
Laura-Lynn, anybody in your audience that's listening, we want to work with people. As General Flynn says, local action for national impact. So we want to work with people in their communities and to help the people that this is happening to, and their advocates, because even if it hasn't happened to you where you've had your children taken, you may be an adoptee who this happened to. You were taken from your family, or you went through the foster care system, or you are a whistleblower that maybe you work for the child welfare system and you want to share what's happening. We want people to reach out to us, and so that we can join together all over the world. We've got contacts in the United States, but we just made a really great contact in Australia the other day, and we'd love to connect with people in Canada and other countries. And the best way for people to reach us is just go to the website at letourchildrengo.org and click on the contact button there, and that'll get to us. And anybody that's out there that this has happened to, or you're an advocate or a whistleblower, you want to share your story, we're trying to do a weekly show, as Mark mentioned, to help people get their stories out there. We need more people to become aware that this is a problem, that this is happening to families, and that we want to protect children by protecting parents so that they can protect their children. Go ahead, Mary.
Right. I
I'm
just
gonna,
thank you. Yeah, Mark
can-
and Terry, I'll just say I just thank you so much for your courage, and obviously God has entrusted you with an extremely painful situation in knowing that you would take it and you would then become a solution for many families. So we pray for God's complete solution in your family. And Mary, I'll turn it over to you for the final word.
Okay, so I just want to mention this about this system. This system started, the family court system in America has started over, actually is framed around the English, comes from Britain. So there's a lot of comparatives and so forth, to the way this family court system was developed in this country back in the founding part of this country. So when it was founded, there's a family court system that is an actual it's a system that we even have in Canada and other areas and other parts of the world, but it's a system that was developed to actually not work for the family. Right? When they use these words, they spin these words, and it's really not family court. So, what has happened, long story short, is that the CPS or Family Child Services or DCYF, every state and county and area, they have different kind of ways of calling it. This system is very powerful, very, very powerful. It takes the rights of parents away, and I think it's probably 15 months that it takes before you can get the children. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Get the children taken away. So there's a plan in place that they have to go through. Those resources is all about money and agencies that the government has grown, large government agencies that we pay. So this is bad judges. I just got a report on a hospital here that one of the doctors is in cahoots with the CPS. They use judges, they use police, they use all kinds of leaders and leadership positions and politicians and so forth to use in this network of getting children for money, for vices they have, all sorts of things, and trafficking
Oh my
children,
goodness.
pornography, all kinds of things. It's very deep, and they had to do this. They had to build this network, this really corrupt system. Clintons were one of them. We're finding this stuff is all exposed now. This is not any of this. None of this stuff is conspiracy anymore. It's all been exposed. Tara Rodas just exposed, testifying in Congress. What she found. She actually found the actual, corruption and the way they do it and what they're doing with children, bringing them across the border. And by the way, what they're doing in the Mexican border and coming right in up to Michigan and all the border states in the north of this country, Canada, they're using that area to go right into Canada, feed Canada with children. Okay, so it's coming in and out now. We have open borders. Children are being brought in and out of both borders, all these countries and so forth. So that being said, we know that the government is involved. They pick and choose what foster care families want, will be the corrupt ones, will want the money. Parents are paying for their children now to be put into pornography. The economy is being destroyed. There's all kinds of pieces of this puzzle that have come to fruition, and their plan was very strategic, and and so forth. And so now, God has really, He's really exposing what we have been waiting for. I have always prayed for, exposure to these criminals, and please hold them accountable and show us where the children are. Well, so those things are happening, and God's not going to put up. Jesus Christ is being pierced. His heart is being pierced by the satanic ways of the evil right now, and they're short term right now. So we have to trust in the Lord. Having faith is one thing, but we have to trust that He will do what He needs to do for us. And I want to end with this one piece that I want to say to everybody. The greatest enemy of truth is silence. Okay? The greatest enemy of truth is silence. Satan knows that if he can take your voice, then you are no longer a threat. Okay? And the only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. So I think that I'm going to leave it with that. Terry and Mark and myself, we're not going to do nothing. And we ask people to join in and get in the fight, because children are the builders of the future. That's God's precious gifts, and we have to fight for the children. And these families are being tortured, trauma children. My daughter, as a grandmother, it devastated me to see her two children ripped out of her arms in the middle of the night.
Back to
And I
him.
had to take care of her and now my two grandchildren. So
Wow.
I know the pain. It's just, it makes you stronger. You trust in the Lord. I know this feeling. I know I didn't want to. I trusted in the Lord, and this is where we are. So just have faith and hope. Okay. It's, we're all in this fight together when we
Amen.
feel that pain. Okay. When we feel pain with children, we're in that fight together. Don't give up.
Wow. 100%. My heart is just so moved. I'm so grateful you're doing this. I would like to connect some families from Canada with you guys, because perhaps you have strategies. You know, America is different than Canada, but there's got to be a way to begin figuring out how to find those networks, because at first you don't know what's going on. These families are just in shock, like nothing makes sense. And then, but you have to be able to find this, and you're outlining that. So let our children go.org, everyone. That is where you can pursue finding out what Mary, Terry, and Mark are all involved in. And if you've got issues, then we need to connect everyone, save the children. And thank God for that Sound of Freedom movie that has come out that is helping to highlight this issue. It's just resounding across the world that we're suddenly being shown what's been going on all along behind the curtains, and we need to expose it. And with the exposing of it, we hope that it will bring it to an end. Thank you, Mary. God bless you for your incredible heart and your work. And may God give you incredible discernment and favor in bringing down these strongholds. And for Terry and Mark, we just pray that full restoration, that this season ends, that God will restore everything that has been stolen from you, and that you will live to laugh at what the enemy tried to do, and you will see that his plans are completely annihilated. We believe, all of us believe with you for that. And I know I have a large praying audience, and we are praying for the completion of this episode, and that God would bring great things out of what the enemy meant for evil. God bless all of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Laura-Lynn,
Yes.
thank you. Just one more thing as you close out your show, pursuant to how you began the show today, and that is Benjamin Franklin had a quote, and that is, "The world is run by the people who show up." So show up, people.
Benjamin Franklin. So that's who first said that, eh? Because, you know, a great Canadian always said that. That was the fellow that was on 100 Huntley Street. He'd always say, be the ones who show up. So it's Benjamin Franklin that originally said that. I'm going to write that down. And we do need to be the ones that show up. God bless you, Terry. You are, Terry and Mark, you are an incredible couple. And I'm hurting for what you've been through, but I know that obviously God's got a big finish to this very terrible saga that you've been through. God bless you. Thanks for joining us today, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, God comes through for those who show up. Isn't that the case? He shows up for those who show up. And my heart is just so burdened for all of that. Our website is lauralyn.tv. Please, everyone, go to that last website. Let Our Children Go, I believe it is. Let Our Children Go .org, and it is going to be in the description of this show wherever you're watching this. And if you know someone who is struggling with something like this, it's appalling. It's the worst. As a parent, can you imagine that these forces, with all this power, come in with false accusations and take your children, and actually you find out that you uncover, as Mark and Terri did, a sex trafficking ring. My Lord, help us, God. This is just so horrendous. This is pure evil. May God be with us. If you enjoy our programs that we bring you, the valuable information that you won't find on CBC, CTV, or Global, CNN, and not even Fox, you will only find it here. And those that dare to speak the truth every single day, we appreciate your support. It means the world to us. When you support us, you help us to do this. You know our stories, that I was a broadcast television host, and because I was fighting what was going on with the children, with Soji, and now we're beginning to rise. We're going to have a million march, everyone. I'm going to give you and keep giving you more details about that so that we can stand together. But the reason that I'm in this is so that we can speak the truth every day. And it is the battle of our lives. We don't have a huge organization behind us. We don't have anybody that's just supplementing our incomes. We literally lay it before you. We don't have a lot of commercials either. Excuse me for that. We just bring you the truth, and you get to enjoy it for an hour and a bit, sometimes 2 hours. And if you love it, would you consider a donation? You can go to our website at Laura-Lynn.tv. There's a donate button. It'll take you right to where you donate. And we're hearing from you. We offer an income tax receipt for your donation to this ministry that spreads the love of Jesus Christ and the truth. And so if you're able to help us, you have no idea, honestly. It is everything to us. Every donation, we thank God. I look at every single one and I just say, thank you, Lord. Thank you for this provision. Bless that person who has just donated. Bless them, Lord. May there be an abundance put back onto their life because they have chosen to sow into this fertile ground where we are able to bring these messages across Canada and the world as we go. And we have amazing followers across the world. I mean, it's so cool. Someone hi from Switzerland. It's just fantastic. I mean, isn't that the amazing part of this internet that can cause so much chaos is actually can be used in the right hands as a tool of righteousness. So we bless you for that. I want to turn today to Revelations 22. The final book of the Bible is a pretty cool book. And I don't know if you ever get a book and you just want to go to the end so you can see how it ends and then read up. Sometimes in the beginning of a book, wow, like it doesn't look, like it's problematic here. And you feel like you want to get to the end. So maybe you have some understanding of how it all resolves, that everything's going to be okay during the drama of the chapters of the book. But I like Revelations 22. It points to us that at the end of all of this, all of the pain that the enemy has tried to cause, all of the evil, sex trafficking, the transgender agenda, the brutal assault against God's righteousness and God's truth, at the end of all of that, we are going to find that we are victorious and that we will also be healed. And I want to read to you a few of the first verses of Revelations 22. Eden restored, it says, "Then the angel showed me the river of the water of life, as clear as crystal." I'm going to underline this so that my children know what was important to read. "Flowing from the throne of God and of the family down the middle of the great street of the city, and of the Lamb down the middle of the great street of the city. On each side of the river stood the tree of life, bearing 12 crops of fruit, yielding its fruit every month." Fascinating. "And the leaves of the tree are for the healing of the nations." There is a time when God is going to deal with all of it. and there will be nothing but healing, nothing but restoration. He will wipe all of our tears away. And in fact, it goes on to say, no longer will there be any curse. Right now, though, we see restoration, redemption. We see God's revelation of healing in pockets. We see it in this situation where you all gather together and you pray for someone who has cancer and you see that they're healed. You pray for a situation where a family is struggling because their child has been taken and that child is restored and given back. There's two situations going on, very serious right now that I know about in this regard. It's harrowing, so destructive. So we pray that the Lord will restore children to their families, that there will be no evil that will come against families. And some of you might know of situations you're dealing with it yourself, or you know someone where this is happening. We pray for those who have cancer today. We pray for those that need healing in their body. In the name of Jesus, remember this, that the leaves of the trees are for the healing of the nations. There will no longer be any curse in the future. But we pray now in the name of Jesus, because Jesus said, in the last days, greater works than he's done are going to happen. Now, Jesus, he was able to just heal the leper, heal the blind, heal the deaf, heal those who could not speak. He was able to, in a moment, raise the dead. And if he says greater things than that he did are going to be done in the last days, isn't it amazing that we can just trust that? The throne of God and of the Lamb will be in the city, and his servants will serve him forever and ever. And it says here that we will see his face and his name will be on our foreheads. Wow, it's going to be a great finish. We'll see you tomorrow, everyone. God bless. You know, it's not easy to deliver the truth of what our sick world is doing, but for some of us, we feel that we have no choice. Because if we are silent about these abominable things, then we are letting evil go unchecked, and we cannot do that. For those of you wonderful people who are writing me and are sharing your encouragement, I am deeply grateful. Thank you for all the letters that you've been sending. Thank you for the donations and the support. I found out that in order to speak the truth, you have to become very, very strong. If you would go to my website at www.laura-lynn.tv, you'll find all of the ways that you can contact me. Remember, my friends, all is well. All is well. Thanks for joining me.